The Pyramid of Cholula is the largest pyramid in the world by volume, standing at 217 feet tall with an area of 450 meters by 450 meters in base area. Most of the pyramid is still buried. It was constructed over a span of several centuries starting in the 3rd century BC all the way to the 9th century AD. And it's 3 pyramids built on top of each other, with the Santuario de la Virgen de los Remedios Church built on top in 1574 to 1575, or a little over half a century later from when the Aztec or Mexica Empire was conquered. I began learning about the Pyramid of Cholula through some different sources in literature, YouTube, and through a Netflix series, and became interestingly curious in visiting this site and viewing it up close myself. So I drew up a plan to visit this site as part of my week-long trip in Mexico, located in the state of Puebla in the municipality of San Andres Cholula. While the main city's plaza is San Pedro Cholula, it's 2 municipalities that make up the city of Cholula, and the rivalry extends to pre-Columbian times. I recommend visiting the small museum close by that contains a scaled-down model of what the structure looks like unearthed, plus all the artifacts and art it contains. I want to briefly talk about the massacre of Cholula that occurred here in 1519. When we think about the Spanish conquest, we only tend to think about the conquerors without acknowledging that there are many other Mesoamerican figures in this story that provided a critical turning point in the way the events had unfolded, and without them, things could have possibly gone differently. La Malinche is one of these individuals. La Malinche is an important figure in Spanish conquest history. Today she is recognized in different ways, from being a legendary queen godlike that welcomed the Spanish and facilitated the conquest, and for others she is seen as a traitor for assisting the Spanish in achieving their conquest as we know it today. I took this picture at the museum I mentioned earlier, and it is a copy of an illustration of a colonial era pictorial codex that shows La Malinche as well as other figures. Pause the video to study it, or you can also look it up online. As viewers can see, this depicts a massacre in which we have a woman on the right side pointing towards a group of warriors that represent the Spanish and the Tlaxcaltecas massacring the Cholultecas. But what does this mean? In his letters of relation detailing his achievements, Hernán Cortés does not give credit towards his personal interpreter, La Malinche. And the truth is, while he was en route to Tenochtitlan, the Aztec Empire, he arrived at Cholula and word got to him that there would be an ambush to kill all the Spaniards in this city. He became informed by La Malinche, who happened to be speaking with an indigenous woman from the city, and the woman attempted to convince her to leave the Spaniards for her own sake as there would be an ambush. But her being loyal to Cortés, she immediately alerted him of the plan, and it infuriated Cortés, who ordered his men as well as the Tlaxcaltecas to begin slaughtering people within the city. Today, we still don't know if such an ambush was really planned or not. Regardless, the Malinche was the one who set all of this off, and this is an example of such a powerful interpreter that played a critical role in the whole Spanish conquest. Her multilingual skills helped Cortés develop alliances, especially with the Tlaxcaltecas, who abhorred the Aztecs. The archaeological zone is open to explore with or without any guides. There was no time limit to explore as long as it's within opening and closing hours of the site. I hired a guide for 400 pesos who explained the ruins and Cholula's history in greater detail. He was very kind and answered any questions we had. One part of the ruins that stuck out to me was what was a purposely built theater-like center where people of the time would gather around. I found myself experimenting and as well as a guide showcasing how enhanced his speech was due to the sound acoustic effects.
Dos veces más alto, capacidad para un poco más de 3,000 personas. El lugar fue llamado por los arqueólogos el patio de los altares tronos. Ya no está completo, pero aún conserva su acústica. El talud inclinado con esas grecas en forma de T invertida.
Now, I don't know if this place was deliberately built this way to enhance these sounds. It's similar to the sound acoustic effects that can be produced at the Chichen Itza Pyramid. Regardless, it's a fascinating place. This was a sacred city dedicated to the god Quetzalcoatl, as well as a major commercial center. Many different cultures took their turns ruling this city over time, from the Olmecs, Toltecs, and later the Aztecs, or the Mexicas. Each group that took control over Cholula just continued to build and add to the pyramid, thus resulting in a massive size structure. Eventually, the pyramid was left unattended for so long that it was overgrown by plants and it transformed into a mound. There are tunnels underground that were excavated in the 1930s led by architect Ignacio Marquina and Marino Gomez. The purpose of this was to explore the pyramid's substructure. The tunnels were open to tourists, but as of October 2024 they were still closed ever since COVID. I have not heard if they have or will reopen them. Also, because of the historical and cultural significance of the church on top, they are now unable to excavate the pyramid for fear of destabilizing or damaging the centuries-old church. Now, this video just covers a small bit of Cholula's history, and with my personal visitation experience. One can only imagine what this place looked like before Cortez's arrival. It was the final city before he carried on to finally meet Moctezuma in Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. And the unfortunate massacre that occurred here is documented through several Spanish sources like Cortez himself and other chroniclers who were part of his brigade like Bernal Diaz del Castillo. This being said, it could present a biased view of events for the Spanish to justify their horrible actions. The Spanish and the Tlaxcaltecas murdered thousands of people in this city, based on what could possibly just been a rumor and no treachery was actually being planned. Did La Malinche lie? If so, why?